Sergeant Clergy of Indianapolis. The partners in this press conference include the Baptist Minister Alliance under the leadership of Dr. Wayne L. Moore. Dr. Moore, I see him somewhere over there. Also, the Indiana chapter of the National Action Network. Pastor Stephen J. Clay, will be hearing from him later. The Baptist Ministers Foresight Alliance of Greater Indianapolis. Dr. Bacon, and the Union District Missionary Baptist Association of Indianapolis under moderator Dr. Clyde Posey. Will be hearing from him as well. We're here today with a unified purpose to lift our voices in response to the recent remarks made by Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith, who described the 3/5 compromise as a great move. Let me be clear, there's nothing great about a policy that reduced our ancestors to less than a whole human being.
Say that.
That's right.
Say that. Say that.
That was not a moment of brilliance in American history, but it was a moment of brutality. We are continuing to call on Governor Mike Brown to do what leadership demands in moments like this, and that is to speak clearly, to act justly, and to condemn false narratives that harm Hoosiers and dishonor our shared history. We will hear today from a diverse and powerful lineup of voices, faith leaders, educators, and lawmakers who stand together in truth, justice, and human dignity. I want to welcome all who have joined us here today and those who are on the stream as well. We thank you for standing with us. We have almost 700 signatures from individuals who have signed the petition calling for Governor Brown's behalf. We plan to share that petition with the governor on next week. Now we want to make it clear that we stand on historical facts. We're going to hear first today from Dr. Professor Kazembe, Associate Professor of Education, Africana Studies at Indiana University, Indianapolis. He will be followed by Dr. Clyde Posey, President of the Union District Association of Indianapolis. They will come in that order.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here, and thank you to Pastor Green for the invitation to join you on this very important occasion. I think all political matters are important. All historical matters are important. Just briefly, in the brief time that I have, I wanted to make sure that we understood what exactly we're dealing with. I want to say out front that the function of racism is distraction. And we need to understand that. We also need to understand that this is really not about the 3/5 compromise. It is not about those comments by the Lieutenant Governor adding to or attempting to clarify or provide historical accuracy about that ugly period. What it is about is how those comments feed an ideology. They feed an ideology of white nationalism and far-right MAGA extremism that has really taken hold in this country in a way that I haven't certainly seen in my lifetime. Black people are assailed from pillar to post, and it has been an unceasing sort of sojourn toward a liberation struggle that we have endured and continue to endure and will continue to endure. We come from a legacy of struggle. So it could have, these comments could have been about anything. It could have been about any misadventurous statement that he made that was pulled from history. So I don't want us to become distracted. Okay. So my purpose here today, with respect, Pastor Green, and those of you who are here, is not to provide is not to swallow the bait and provide some sort of laying out of facts of 3/5 and going through that whole rigmarole to show you, well, this is what it meant, this is what the predominant historians in the field actually have come to. No, that's distraction. Because this could have been about any issue, and then we would have found ourselves there. That is the purpose of racism, is distraction. They tell black people that we don't have humanity, then we go run around attempting to prove that we're human. They tell us that we don't have history, and then we run around trying to prove we have history. They tell us that we don't have history that's worth teaching, and then we run around trying to prove that. So no, I don't want to fall for the okie doke. I don't want us to fall for the okie doke.
Give us the focus, focus.
In focus, at exactly where they belong. These are dog whistles. I'm going to say something that might be considered a little controversial.
Say it.
The purpose, I said the function of racism is distraction. The purpose of racism is to control the behavior of white people. That is what I'm going to stand on, because these sorts of admonishments, these dog whistle politics, you don't have to be correct. It's not about veracity or what we call historicity, the accuracy of it. It's not about anything like that. It is about sending a message to the far right base, 63 million plus that voted for Donald J. Trump. It is about sending a message to middle class and white working class folks who are world weary, who are actually beat up, and who would actually, many of whom, would prefer to believe rather than think. That's what this is about.
You teach it.
That is what racism encourages. It encourages us to believe rather than think. I am a teacher educator. I am responsible for the education of people who will matriculate. They cross the hot burning sands in our program, and they go on to get a license to teach. I can think of no other honorable profession that's as noble as teaching. That's right up there with saving lives. So these comments are coming at a time where that kind of ideology, which stretches back since before the formation of this country, it is an ideology of divisiveness, it is an ideology that is built on fear and ignorance, and it is an ideology that is built on the acquisition of power, however and by any means. I really want us to understand that. These comments are coming and fueling a climate where there has been a retrenchment of white supremacy and white nationalism, far-right groups in this country, including right here in Indiana. There has been a retrenchment, if you will, of racism in terms of the continued defunding of public schools and public school teachers and black communities and poor and working class communities. So these comments are coming in a hailstorm also of a war on reason and a war on intelligence and a war on truth, where we're not allowed, some of us, particularly colleagues down south, to actually teach the true history of this country. But what is allowed to go forth are unchecked lies, outright lies, and lies and things that feed into this ideology of white supremacy to what? Keep us distracted. So if we're focused on this and fighting with this and distracted and get into emotionalism, then we're not paying attention to the mental health services that are being curbed and curtailed for all people in this city by this governor's administration, which is just dastardly. We're not paying attention to the kinds of things that are really, really important because we're, again, distracted by the sleight of hand. So I'm going to end my comments here, but I just really, really wanted to encourage us. You don't even have to have any serious scholarly pretensions to understand that. If these comments are not stricken down, if they're not struck down by the governor, then that sends a clear message to us about where certain sentiments are. Right. And it is important to be accurate. I found it very interesting that D.L. Hughley said DEI ain't got nothing on CGI. DEI, you know what CGI is? Corrupt, greedy, incompetent people. So DEI ain't got nothing on CGI. So I find it quite interesting that when it comes to DEI, there's a real war that's waged on people when it comes to jobs and labor and employment and access to the levels of power, etc. But they're not too concerned with DEI when it comes to organized sports and the NCAA and conscripting people to the military and paying taxes, right? They'll take your DEI, your black dollars all day long, right? So we need to really, really understand what's at stake here and what kind of messages these people are going to be sending, because tomorrow it will be something else. And we will have a great deal of it, and we'll respond to that. The next day it'll be something else. So let us not fall for the okie doke. Let us honor our ancestors and let us go forward with a spirit of inquiry, a spirit of intelligence, because we have an obligation to our own intelligence, and a spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood, and more importantly than that, a spirit of collective humanity. Right? I tell my students all the time, last comment, I say it jokingly, but I'm serious. If you haven't learned anything from watching The Walking Dead, that AMC series, you should have learned that you need people. You need people. You cannot do things without people. So thank you again, Pastor Green, and to my guests here. I really appreciate you.
Oh yeah, that individual stuff ain't nothing.
Greetings to all who are assembled here today. Your presence is prescient in the importance it brings to us addressing the face of the new racist tactic of bringing the 3/4 compromise back to the forefront. Lieutenant Beckwith. Before I move in, take any further steps, I want to make perfectly clear that the context of my comments today is to make sure that we, as a city, as a state, and hopefully as a country, directly tie the intent, the moral insensitivity, and wrong racist comments to Lieutenant Beckwith. He has chosen to be the face of it. He has chosen to be the voice of it. And I want to ensure today that he owns what he birthed. One of the strange things that happened in my life, that came back to my mind, it wasn't part of my intended comments, but I want to say it briefly and then get into what I want to speak to you briefly about. There was a Summer Olympics not long ago where the United States, where the Jamaicans won the 4x100 relay. I was sitting talking to my son, he missed it. He missed the relay. He ran to the kitchen and missed the relay and was over just like that.
Quick.
My son asked me, who started it off? Who ran the first leg? I said, I cannot remember. He said, okay, Dad, don't worry about that. Who won? Who ran the second and third leg? I said, son, I'm so sorry, I cannot remember.
You know
He
that.
said, well, who ran the ankle?
The ankle.
I said,
Who
who's
did?
on both? Who's on both? If you're wondering why I'm bringing that analogy, it's because of this. It doesn't matter who started the notion of the racist 3/5 compromise. As the professor so eloquently placed to us, the history is not what matters most now. It's who's running the anchor today.
Just there.
That's a good
And
point.
Beckwith has made himself
That's a good
our
point.
current anchor for this vile, racist rhetoric. In my faith tradition, I'm a Christian, and I believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. He is the answer and an epitome of morality concerning the value of the human functioning within the human experience. Dr. King embraced these sentiments in his arguments about personalism and the value of the personhood of man. When Dr. King was creating these arguments and fighting for the value and the importance of man as a person, he argued against a notion he created called the thingification of humans. And Dr. Clay, when he was arguing this notion of the thingification of humans, he was bringing back to bear the notions of Ida B. Wells in her Southern Horrors writing about how at lynchings they would cut off ears or cut off genitalia to not only possess them for their prosperity, for racist posterity, but to sell them. And if a family got into a pinch, it was a valuable and precious commodity to have
Sick.
the genitals
Sick.
or earlobe or, Negro toe
Barbarians.
of one who had been lynched.
That's right.
because thingification was all the black body meant. If we allow statements such as Lieutenant Governor of Indiana's Beckwith to rise without calling it what it is, we allow ourselves to continue to be merchandised and thingified. I am not a thing. I am a man. I am not a thing. Although I possess things by the grace of God, I am a man. I am not a thing. Although I have access to things because of the grace of God, I am not a thing. I am a man. I think like a man. I understand like a man. I reason like a man. I deduce like a man. I argue and contend and fight in this black body like a man. And so it would become my fault to decide to allow someone to reduce me to an inanimate object of trade to create electoral colleges that give me power for centuries and control the world by the America by the things I possess. Unfortunately, the orchestrators of the 3-5 compromise only saw things as avenues of power.
That's right.
That is why racists cannot love another culture. Because if they cannot see the value of that culture producing their, and perpetuating their notions about how things produce power, they have no value.
That's right. Teach.
People of color and oppressed everywhere, never let yourself be thingized.
Right.
You are in the imago Dei. You're the image of God. And if you allow someone's rhetoric to reshape and define who you are, then how dare you try to fight for more mental health care? You don't deserve it if you're just a thing.
All right.
How dare you pursue more assistance for your Medicare? What would you need Medicare for if you're only a thing?
All right.
How dare you fight for economic and fight for the disparity study to be perpetuated despite Governor Brown's attempts to destroy it, saying it has no use? Why would you need that if you're only a thing? But because you're more than a thing, you need that and more. You are not a thing. You are a whole 100% person with the deepest, richest value that you can ever exist. Never allow yourself to be thingized because you are more than a thing.
Good word. Good word.
So we've heard the basis. And what we want to continue to demonstrate now is this battle is not limited to one faith. We have other colleagues across the state who are part of this movement as well. We want to hear now from Rabbi Aaron Spiegel, who's the leader of GEMA, Greater Indianapolis Multi-Faith Alliance. He'll be followed by the lead pastor there at First Methodist in Bloomington. Lead pastor Lisa will come and share, so we know that this is not limited to Indianapolis. Lead pastor Nolan has come from Bloomington to share with us as well. Rabbi?
It's tough to follow by a preacher. Good morning and thank you for being here. I'm Rabbi Aaron Spiegel on behalf of the Greater Indianapolis Multi-Faith Alliance. We denounce Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith's insensitive and inaccurate slave-era statement that an enslaved person was worth 3/5 of a person, and that this was a great move for ending slavery. There is no world in which this is even nominally acceptable. In my tradition, all are created b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. And there are no fractions of a person. While Mr. Beckwith is entitled to his opinions as an elected official of the state of Indiana, he is not entitled to spout revisionist history as a matter of fact, nor is he permitted to repeat racist vitriol as Lieutenant Governor. I want to be clear that I am stating that his comments are racist, as determined by my black brothers and sisters, who are the only arbiters of this term. Governor Braun, these statements are made on your behalf by your Lieutenant Governor. We call on you to fully denounce them. With more than a passing, I definitely wouldn't have used that characterization, and I don't like it. Sir, that's not enough.
That's not enough.
You are correct, Governor Braun, that Mr. Beckwith is making headlines the wrong way. And yet I suspect headlines are his goal, regardless the impact. This story has been in the news for a week straight now, echoing nationally. While Mr. Beckwith's intention may be to keep the story alive to promote his position, I cannot believe this is any way good for the people of Indiana. It has become commonplace for us to accept these egregious comments as benign rantings of the ignorant. But I implore us to call them out for what they are, racist tirades meant to desensitize us into accepting this behavior as normal. I call on all good people of conscience, speak up, speak out against hateful rhetoric, most especially from our elected officials. Thank you.
I'm Lisa Schubert-Nolly, Reverend Lisa Schubert-Nolly, a lead pastor of First United Methodist Church in Bloomington, Indiana. And I am privileged that Rabbi Spiegel and Reverend Green invited me to be part of the conversation this morning. You say that I am a king, Jesus answered Pontius Pilate, the Roman lieutenant governor of Judea. I was born and came into the world for this reason, to testify to the truth. Whoever accepts the truth listens to my voice. What is truth?
Wow.
Pilate asked. Those who love power have manipulated the truth for centuries to meet their own violent ends. The history of our nation is one of abusing, enslaving, and oppressing black, brown, female, indigenous, foreign, and LGBTQIA+ bodies.
I knew she was going to put that in.
And then trying to revise history to prove there was a time when America was truly great. My friends, Indiana is no exception.
Right.
Timothy Egan, author of A Fever in the Heartland, traced the strength of the Ku Klux Klan in Indiana in the 1920s. And in particular, he describes the corrupt power of D.C. Stevenson, who was the grand dragon of the KKK and held a tremendous amount of political and religious power in the state. And he says, Stevenson discovered that if he said something often enough, no matter how untrue, people would believe it. And then Egan adds, when hate was on the ballot, especially in the guise of virtue, a majority of voters knew exactly what to do. A century later, in Indiana, we continue to vote hate into office.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And those of us who care about the truth must condemn racist, revisionist history, reckon with our past, and demand an equitable future on the ballot. I am so grateful to be gathered here today with many black and brown siblings who are censuring our lieutenant governor, but the onus is not upon you. The burden is upon the white people in this state who make up more than 80% of the population to remove the hoods of their privilege. To censure the political leaders who uphold racism, and then to improve our abysmal voter turnout. We're number 50, people. We're number 50. And show up at the polls to actually vote the racists out of office. The next responsibility falls on another demographic that I'm part of, which is white parents. Nice white parents who must protest when history is rewritten in their children's social studies books, when words like racist are scratched from the curriculum, and when diverse literature is censored from library shelves.
That's right.
The other day, our third grader came home from school and declared to me, "I hate social studies." And I said, "That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear that. But you are going to study history for the rest of your life."
Yeah.
Because do you know what happens to people who don't study history? I said they vote for our president. And I said they vote for our governor, and I would add the lieutenant governor with it.
They might have studied
And
history.
finally this morning, I really want to address my fellow white clergy. And I wish there were more of you here this morning, and I'm grateful for those of you who have showed up. But let me remind you that the lieutenant governor considers himself one of us. And when we white clergy remain silent, when we prefer order over justice, we form one of the greatest stumbling blocks to the freedom of our black and brown siblings, said Martin Luther King Jr. in his letter from a Birmingham jail. And then King added, "Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will." And so I want to conclude this morning by saying one last thing to my fellow white Hoosiers. Before we can consider an alternative future in this state, we have a lot of reckoning and repenting. We have a lot of repairing and renewing our relationships. I'm not even talking about reconciling yet. I'm talking about repairing and renewing relationships with our siblings of color. And this is not going to happen in just a minute. This is generational work.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Generational work that has to start right now, immediately, in this moment, when we honestly look at ourselves and our history so that we may finally know the truth that sets us free. Thank you.
final two speakers, we have with us the Black Caucus. I want to ask all the Black Caucus, Senate Democrats, please stand. Everybody, please stand. Thank you for your presence on today. Just started out of a conversation around Senate Bill 289, which was a DEI bill that was bad for Black people. We've asked Senator Hunley, she's going to come and represent them. Senator Hunley, after that, we're going to hear finally from Dr. Stephen J. Clay, the president of the Indiana chapter of National Action Network.
It is so great to be here with all of you today, to be with faith leaders and community advocates from all corners of the state. And thank you for recognizing the Black Caucus and our Senate Democrat colleagues. I have to give a very special shout out to our freshman senator, Senator Lakeisha Jackson. Senator Jackson came in like a force this legislative session. And being in the super minority, we only have really two weapons in the State House, the microphone and the rule book. And when I tell you that she used the power of the microphone with full force, it has been a blessing to serve with you. And I would say that the comments of the Lieutenant Governor come because he is afraid of you, and he should be, okay? And so last week, in the heart of the legislative session that was too often targeted at our communities, the Lieutenant Governor, as we've heard, called out the 3/5 compromise as being great. And as we've heard here, and I want to be very crystal clear, that statement was a shameless distortion of history, and it's an insult to every Black Hoosier. Words matter, and especially when they come from those who've been entrusted with leadership. And historical revisionism that whitewashes oppression and dishonors the memory of our ancestors who have endured pain disrespects generations who have fought to overcome it. And it damages the future that we are still working to build. And so this lack of moral clarity from such a significant office in our state, it's shocking. And I gotta tell y'all that we deserve so much better. Absolutely. And so just like the speakers before, I stand with them in rejecting any attempt to rewrite the past using political cowardice and cruelty as something that should ever be celebrated. Now, to our Black folks in the room, I want to say to you and remind us that we are the descendants. We are the descendants of those who survived being counted as less than whole. And we owe them the truth. Not a revision of their pain, but a true reckoning with it. A true reckoning with it. But while today's outrage centers on a single moment, like the professor said at the top of our time together today, a dangerous rewrite by one office holder cannot be what we're completely centered on. Because make no mistake, the Lieutenant Governor Beckwith's remark, they're emblematic of a much broader, concerted effort and a concerted agenda that is unfolding right here in Indiana, right here in our own backyard. And so I want to break down for you what's happened just this legislative session. Just this session, our legislator moved to ban ethnic studies courses from being able to be taught in our high schools. Just this session, the governor issued executive orders to dismantle offices that serve Black Hoosiers, that serve veterans, women, and people with disabilities. Just this session, they attempted to strip critical conversations about race from our civics education courses.
Right.
And the governor is also censoring state employees and the state library from being able to teach about Indiana's racist past and history. That's happening right now. So these comments, these little videos being posted up on Twitter, these are the distraction. But what's happening, we've got to make sure that we are looking at this eyes wide open. This is a movement. This is a movement that's growing right here to erase truth, to dismantle programs that support our communities, and that silence the very people who fought hardest for equality. And so that's why we've got to be vigilant. We've got to be vigilant today because this only gets worse tomorrow. We know it, we've seen it, we've been here before, our ancestors have been here before. Many of you in this room have been here before, you know.
That's exactly right.
And so today, I join all of you, I join the faith leaders in making sure that we are unambiguous in our demands to Governor Braun. So Governor Braun, listen up. You've got to be sure that you know that you've got to say it loud, you've got to be clear that the Lieutenant Governor's remarks are dangerous and they're revisionist. We want to hear you say it. Beckwith, we want a full retraction and an apology.
Yes.
Very important. And also, to our governor, we want you to commit that here in the Hoosier State, that we teach unvarnished truth of our history, and that we are committed to meaningful racial reconciliation. And we want to hear you say it. Now this part's for Hoosiers. For the people saying, so what, now what do we do? How do we help? So to every Hoosier that believes in justice, this is your call to action. Pick up the phone, call the governor. Tell him what you expect him to do. Also share your story. We've seen you out on social media. We've seen you talking with your friends. We've seen you marching. Share your story. Make sure that you're using your voice, but also sign the petition. We've got 700 signatures so far. We're going to be delivering it to the governor next week. We need to have over 1,000, over 2,000. Help us, help us. And then stand with us until our leaders demonstrate the respect for full humanity of every citizen. Our ancestors survived being reduced to fractions. We will not allow our generation to treat their pain as political theater. Not at all. We will continue to hold leaders accountable. We will build an Indiana worthy of our past and our promise. And until truth is honored, until justice is secured, and until every Hoosier is respected, our work continues. Thank you.
I am delighted to be here today with some people who have made up their mind to get into some good trouble. I want to say something. I want to just put a ribbon on much of what has already been said and say it like this. You've probably heard it before. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are made in the image of God, who stepped out of nowhere onto nothing and created everything. And he has invested in us the stewardship of this society. We are the stewards of this society. And we have sent some of our best who are here today to represent us in the State House. And we are here to stand with you, to say to you and to say to others, we will not provide safe harbor for any other lawmakers to disrespect you and dishonor you because you represent us. Sometimes people don't know you've offended them. Let's be clear.
Act like it anyhow.
Micah Beckwith, with 10 toes down, standing on truth, you have disrespected us, and we do not appreciate it. This and I'm done. Frederick Douglass was right. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Never has and never will. Be clear. We're watching. Your rhetoric has served as a catalyst to bring people together that perhaps would not otherwise agree on much. So it proves again that even sin has a purpose.
Thank you, Dr. Clay. I'd like for all of our clergy, if you'll please stand. I thank God for all of you being here. All our clergy, please stand. Thank you, clergy, for being here. Because we will not back down. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask all that are able, because